For the Dodgers, literally, the hits kept on coming. Hi, everybody. I'm Jim Rodriguez, and welcome to the Thursday edition of Dodgers Latest. You can hit me up on Instagram and on X by hitting me up at JRodShow. Love your comments. We encourage you to keep subscribing to the channel over at Dodgers Latest on YouTube. And, of course, hit me up on social media. Love it. Try to respond to everything that you send me. Big finish to April. Dodgers started the season winning 8 straight, and they end the first full month of the season winning 5 straight. And look at those numbers. Dodgers outscored their opponents 51-21 during the last 5 games of the season. That's the last 5 games of April. That was 2 against the Pirates and then finishing up the sweep of the Miami Marlins. And yeah, man, they busted out the whooping stick. 2 straight double-digit performances in terms of run scores against the Marlins. They finished the sweep on Wednesday by clubbing Miami 12-7, and really, it wasn't even that close. Remember, the Marlins ended up getting 4 runs in the 9th inning to make it a little bit more presentable, but the Dodgers just dominated that game from top to bottom, dominated that series, really, from top to bottom. Not a good welcome back for ex-Dodger Clayton McCullough, who is now the skipper of the Miami Marlins. But man, I'll tell you what, this has been a month, despite the Dodgers finishing in first place at the end of April with a record of 21-10. It did have a little bit of highs and lows, right? Remember, they won their first 8 games. They win their last 5 games of April. So that means that's 13 wins. So that means they were 8-10 in between. And we saw how Andy Pages struggled defensively with the bat. He has seemed to turn that around in both facets. And I would say if you had to pick an MVP of the first 31 games for the Dodgers, it'd have to be Teoscar Hernandez, right? 32 runs batted in, really validating that 3-year, $66 million contract the Dodgers gave him. Remember, there was that talk, Teoscar, Juan Soto, time will tell, but the Dodgers getting the better end of that. Teoscar, another RBI to finish the first full month of the season yesterday, ended up with 10 RBIs during this 5-game winning streak for the Dodgers. He's hitting over 300, and he's had a monster start to the season. Some would tell you he might have been the team MVP if it wasn't for Ohtani's 50-50 last year. A great start for Teoscar, a great start for the Dodgers, and what gets me, and we've talked about it before, this National League West is starting to be super impressive. I mean, it's the only division in all of Major League Baseball with 4 teams that are above 500. The Dodgers are 21-10, San Diego 19-11, a game and a half behind the Dodgers, San Francisco 19-12, 2 games behind the Dodgers, and Arizona, who may have, with all due respect to the Dodgers, Arizona has got quite the offensive lineup. They may have the best offensive lineup in the division. They're 16-14. They're above 500, 4.5 behind the Dodgers. In Colorado, well, they're kind of like Bruno in Coco, right? We don't talk about Colorado. But for the Dodgers, when you look at this National League West right now, and again, I know it's May 1st. The season, is barely a month old, a month and change old. But right now, the Dodgers, the Padres, and the Giants would be making the postseason. So the NL West would have 3 teams. There is the possibility of 4 NL West teams getting into the postseason. Right now, the Dodgers and Mets have the best record, not only in the National League, in all of baseball with the 21-10. They would have the byes, and San Diego would play San Francisco in the best of 3 wild card game. The Phillies would be the worst wild card. They would play the Cubs, and the Dodgers would play the winner of the 4-5, which would be San Diego, San Francisco. So the Dodgers could, right out of the gate, much like last year, face a tough divisional opponent to start the season. And can you imagine if Arizona got in and they were able to advance? They would be the Dodgers and Diamondbacks in a league championship series. This could be an all NL West postseason if things break out. And the Dodgers hope, as usual, much like last year, that they're the last one standing at the end when the last victory of the season is pronounced and when the crown is risen for another world championship. Dodgers with 8 world championships in franchise history. Be a good year to make it number 9, don't you think? And a guy who has been, part of that up and down, mainly down so far this season. Max Muncy, we finally got off the schneid, hit his first home run of the season, and what got me, you could just tell the love and affection that his teammates had, right? Remember, he got yelled at by a so-called Dodger fan on the road. It sort of stopped Max in his tracks as he was getting on the team bus, leaving the stadium in Chicago. Well, Max has had his struggle. It was his 106th plate appearance of 2025, his 28th game of the season before he finally hit a home run. That is the longest drought of Max Muncy's career. He had previously gone 17 games when Max was with the A's in 2016 without a home run to start the season. His last regular season home run, now, remember, he hit 3 home runs in the postseason, but his last regular season home run came on the 15th of September. So it's great to see the Dodgers' 9th all-time home run hitter. That's right, Max Muncy, in all of Dodger history, when you go back to Brooklyn as well, Max is 9th all-time in home runs with 191. So he is creeping ever so closer to that 200 home run mark. Should have no problem getting it this year. So we're glad Max is hanging in there. The guy's been a pillar at third base, hasn't seemed to get away from him, and I hope we can appreciate what Max Muncy does. Listen, he's not going to win a batting title, right? He's not Tony Gwynn. He's there because he can hit bombs, and he has just struggled. Hopefully he's gotten off of it. He also had a big triple in this series against Miami. Little by little, the Dodgers are working with him. He's trying, and again, it just shows you the celebration the Dodgers did. Obviously, the Dodgers have that sesame seed celebration when they throw it at a player when he returns to the dugout after hitting a home run. You saw Freddie Freeman with his arms extended in the air. Finally for Max, you could just tell they were so happy for him, and we're glad that Max is off the schneid, and hopefully you're going to get some more on this big road trip that's coming up for the Dodgers when they go to Atlanta, Miami, and Arizona. A guy the Dodgers are also happy for is the Catman. There was 9 meows. That's right, they play a meow sound effect at Dodger Stadium after each Tony Gonsolin strikeout. For Tony, his first start since August 18th, 2023. He was back from Tommy John surgery, and this is a little different than most guys that come back from Tommy John, because look at those numbers. He went 6 innings in his first start after Tommy John surgery, 9 strikeouts, no walks, gave up 3 runs, a home run, but he was ready to go in spring training. Remember, he hurt his back in spring training lifting weights. So here was a guy that basically had finished his rehab from Tommy John, was ready to challenge, was probably going to make the starting rotation, but he got set back because of that back issue lifting weights. So he came in a lot stronger and a lot sharper, I think, than most guys coming off of Tommy John. And I tell you what, for an organization that has now got 12 pitchers on the injured list, it is good to see Tony Gonsolin. It looks like he will not pitch, obviously, in the Atlanta series. He is scheduled to pitch Monday when the Dodgers get to Miami. So also curious to see him facing the same team in back-to-back starts if the Marlins can adjust to it. But for Tony Gonsolin, only 77 pitches in those 6 innings, so economical. He had that awesome off-speed pitch and that stuff breaking down and in on the Marlin left-handed hitters. He looked great. He looked dominant. And for the Dodgers, a huge step forward, because now they have 4 healthy starting pitchers, knock on wood, and they can keep that as they wait for Snell and Glasnow and Kershaw to make their way back. And of course, the bullpen is having issues with their relievers being hurt, with Treinen and going on the DL, on the IL. So hopefully those guys can come back. And the Dodgers, despite all that, you look up at the top of the NL West, and there are the Dodgers at 21-10. So it's a crazy start to the first full month of the season. Dodgers manage the ebbs and flows. Big road trip starts tomorrow. No days off. 10 games in 10 days. 3 in Atlanta, 3 in Miami, and 4 in Arizona before they're home a week from tomorrow to get back at Dodger Stadium. And, of course, we've got it all for you here on Dodgers Latest. I'm Jim Rodriguez. Hit me up on X and Instagram at JRod Show. It's always time for Dodger baseball. Enjoy the day off. And tomorrow, it's the Dodgers and the Braves.